Hey, glad you joined me today. I'm going to talk about overcoming fatigue. Oftentimes, when we think about fatigue, the number one thing we think of is, oh, I need more rest. Well, that's part of it. Yeah, it's an important part of it, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more that goes into it than that. So I look forward to you joining me over this next little short period of time so that we can understand how we can overcome fatigue. Well, I'm really glad that you joined us. I think that overcoming fatigue is something that a lot of us deal with. And like I said, it's much more than sleep. And so what I want to talk about is these three things, and I'm going to elaborate on them as we go through. I'm going to guess we're going to be here 12, 15 minutes, but you're going to get some good stuff on how you can be a better version of you. Why? So that everybody wins. When you're a better version of you, it's great. When you're fatigued, it's not so great. So here we go. Overcoming fatigue. Number one, we need to recognize it. Number two, we need to respond wisely to it. And number three, we need to rise above. I'm going to talk about each one of those a little bit more. When it comes to recognizing it, there's some telltale signs. There's some red flags that we need to be well aware of. And most of you are going, yeah, I feel tired. It's much deeper than that. For example, maybe you're feeling emotionally numb. Maybe there's things going on around you that you should feel emotional, that you should feel happy, or maybe you should feel upset, or maybe you should feel disappointed. But for some reason, you're just not really feeling it. And number two, maybe you have an increased irritability. Maybe you get upset quicker. You don't have nearly the patience that you had before because you're fatigued. Your understanding of what's going on in front of you, you see the right way, but you don't have any room to allow for people to learn and grow along the way. You just want it done right now. So you're increased impatience is what I would say. Difficulty in understanding the relationship that you're in. What I mean by that is this. You don't have the brain power or the heart power to really focus on what's going on around you emotionally. Maybe somebody is trying to really pour into you and you're just not feeling it. You're not part of it. Unfortunately, you probably missed an opportunity because that person, whether it's a spouse, a boss, a friend, a mentor, whoever it is, wants to pour into you. But because you're fatigued, you're missing those moments, those learning moments. And so it's really important to understand how you see these signs. Another one, maybe you have a lack of motivation. Lack of motivation at work, lack of motivation at home, whatever it is, you're not feeling it. And no matter how many Red Bulls you drink, no matter how many cups of coffee you drink, you're just not finding the energy that you want. That's a telltale sign that you're fatigued. And then last but not least, we understand that you have changes in your sleep patterns, changes in your diet. Maybe you put on some weight, maybe you lost some weight, whatever it is. When it comes to being fatigued, there's a lot of telltale signs, a lot of red flags that we need to see. And so my challenge to you is the things that I just said, if you said yes to just one of them, obviously it's time for you to think about overcoming fatigue. And I got some ideas here coming up soon that we'll get into. But understanding and recognizing the importance of self-awareness is huge when it comes to it. Now, number two is we need to respond. Now, when it comes to responding, what I mean by responding is this: we need to refuel with intention. Oftentimes you think, well, you know what? I'm going to sleep in on Saturday. I normally get up at 6 a.m. to go to work, but I'm going to sleep in till 10. I'm going to get 4 extra hours of sleep. I'm going to feel like a champ. You know, sleep studies have shown that if we miss getting that quality sleep, whatever it is, 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night, with our body and our brain and our need so that we can function at top capacity. If we miss that, and let's say one night we only get 4 hours, or the next night we only get 5 hours, but we think to ourselves, I'm going to make up for it on the weekend. Research shows that if we miss one night of good sleep, one night, let's say we only get 6 hours, or we only get 5 hours, whatever a poor night's sleep looks like to you, science shows that it takes up to 2 weeks for our body to recover from that one night. So just sleeping in on a Saturday or just sleeping in on a Sunday is not going to give you, is not going to help you overcome the fatigue that you're feeling, especially if the above, what I just talked about, if you're understanding or seeing some of those telltale signs, some of those red flags of being fatigued. Well, when it comes to responding wisely so that we can rebuild, here's some things that we need to think about when it comes to that. One, we need to practice quality sleep habits. I know I've talked a lot about sleep, but let's practice quality sleep habits. There's plenty of books out there. You go on YouTube, go anywhere you want to. It'll tell you things that you need to do so that you get quality sleep. And guess what one of the number one things is? Guess. Yep, that's right. Get off the phone. Get off that darn internet, going through your social media, checking that stuff out at bedtime. Do it before. Do it in the evening when you get home. Turn off the TV. Don't listen to music when you're going to bed. Set your room up so that you can get some good quality sleep. Listen, sleep is vitally important for our bodies to function at full capacity, and for our brains to function at full capacity. It's vitally important for us to overcome fatigue when we throw in just simple sleep habits. Take short breaks. Have you ever thought about that? Take short breaks. I would imagine that your work, your play, your home life, whatever it is, you have the ability to take short breaks. Even if that short break is just going for a walk, a 15-minute walk, a 10-minute walk, whatever it is, getting yourself clear of the space that is creating so much stress, that's creating so much thinking power, but getting clear of that space so that you can allow yourself the opportunity to rest in just a manner of taking a break. Now, another one that I think is really important is we need to engage in activities and relationships that refuel us. Let me say that one more time. We need to engage in activities that refuel us. We need to engage in relationships that refuel us. Because goodness gracious, I'm not the only person here that understands that we all have a relationship or two or three or four that drain us. There's relationships out there that, goodness gracious, we put all the energy and effort into it, and the relationship in and of itself is going to help us to be fatigued. So how do we engage in meaningful relationships that it can help us refuel? Who's somebody that you enjoy to be with? Think about this, a podcast. I'm sure that most of you have a podcast or a learning that you enjoy to hear. Well, guess what? That's part of taking a break. That's part of refueling. That's part of hearing something that's positive, that's helping you grow, that's helping you be energized. When you're awake, that's the greatest opportunity for you to build in a positive relationship or build in an activity that helps refuel who you are. There's so many different things that we can do when it comes to building and working through being fatigued. Now, we went through recognize. We recognize the signs. Number two, we went through respond. How do we respond to these things so that we can make sure that we're overcoming fatigue? Because if we don't overcome them, we'll just continue to go down and down and down and spiral and spiral and spiral. Because the next thing after fatigue is burnout. And once we get to burnout, boy, it's a long road back. Understanding that we have some signs when it comes to recognizing, understanding that we need to refuel with intentionality. Be purposeful in what you do, because if you don't, nobody else will. And then last but not least is rise above. How do we rise above these things? Well, let me rephrase that. When it comes to rise above, this is what I would add on to that. That would be reset boundaries and expectations. Reset boundaries and expectations. Well, you might say, well, Todd, I have boundaries that can't be moved, and I have expectations that can't be moved. Well, I would beg to differ on that, because if I'm fatigued, guess what happens? Those around me are going to feel that. Those around me, I'm not going to grow deep in a relationship with. My vulnerability, their vulnerability is not going to be there. We're going to put big walls up. Why? To protect each other. Why? Because we're fatigued and we don't have any other way to protect ourselves. Changing our expectations and maybe moving our boundaries, there's some things that come into play. One of the first one is we need to say no without feeling guilty. Because quite honestly, if you think about it, think about this as a simple math equation. If I say yes to something, that means I'm saying no to something else. If I say no to something, that means I'm saying yes to something else. I know that sounds quite rudimentary, but it's true. When it comes to being fatigued, I need to look at one thing, and that is this. I need to look at what I'm doing. Am I overspending myself? Am I outside of my capacity? But I'm trying my best. Well, I need to relook at my expectations and relook at my boundaries. Where can I say no to something? Am I overworking here? Am I giving too much here? Am I doing too much in my community where somebody else could do it? Saying no is an art. And saying no without feeling guilty can sometimes be difficult, but it's for your own health. It's so that you can overcome fatigue. It's so that you can grow stronger in the relationships that you have. And here's another one. We need to limit energy draining activities. What are they? I just mentioned them before. Maybe we're too much in our community. Maybe we're too much, maybe our kids are doing 20 different extracurricular activities. Maybe they just need to do one or two so that we can spend better quality time together and we can overcome fatigue. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to rise above is we need to learn to delegate. How do we delegate? Man, that's a tough one. I think it's an old proverb that talks about, hey, you want to do it fast, do it alone. But you want to do it for a while, do it together. Oftentimes, as an adult, whether it's work, home, spouse, parenting, whatever it is, we want to do it ourselves. Why? Because we can do it quickly and it can be done and we can move forward. Well, the reality is that also drives us down the road to fatigue a lot quicker. So overcoming fatigue, we need to delegate. We need to allow our children to do certain things that they may not do perfectly like you, but let them do it. Help them learn through it. Help them learn through it. You learn through it. Maybe your spouse needs help here and there, but you just can't do it. And maybe you need to look at work and think, man, I got so much on my plate that I need to go see the boss and I need to say, hey, I only want these 3 things on my plate because these other 47 things are just taking too much time and I'm not able to give you quality work. So we need to learn to delegate. We need to learn to reflect on what we have going on in our own lives, because when we do that, it helps us to overcome fatigue. Now, real quick recap. This is what I want to show you, but then I want to move to a few questions I want you to ask yourselves. Real quick recap. We need to recognize the signs of when we're feeling fatigued. We need to look at those things. We need to respond wisely. We need to refuel with intention. And then last but not least, we need to rise above. We need to relook at expectations. We need to relook at the boundaries that we've created so that we can make sure that we're refueling and we're building ourselves rather than continuing down the road of fatigue. Now, here's what I want to look at. I want to flip this over and I want to talk about these here. These are some reflection questions that I want you to go home with. There's a lot right there on that board. I realize that. But I want you to take a snapshot of these, whatever it is for you, pause it, write them down. But these are things that I think when it comes to overcoming fatigue, we need to ask ourselves. What does healthy rest look like for you? That would be question number 1. Remember, it's not just sleep. When it comes to healthy rest, our mind, our body, our soul, how are we being intentional about refueling who we are, what we do, and how we do it? That would be question number 1. Question number 2 is this: what are 2 or 3 practical ways that you can begin to refuel this week? Now, my suggestions may not work for you, but you have to put some brain power into this. And what can I do this week to refuel, to begin to refuel this week? Is don't keep putting this off. If you are recognizing the signs of fatigue, you need to start refueling yourself. You need to rethink how you're doing things so that you can be the best version of yourself. And then last but not least, who can you trust to help you stay accountable to a healthier rhythm? Now, that's a tough one. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a battle buddy, maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's somebody, but you need to sit down with them, make it a point to sit down with them and say, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm overextending myself. I feel like I'm fatigued, and this is why I'm fatigued. I recognize these signs, and I'm going to change the way that I do something. I'm going to change it up a little bit. And these are the 2 or 3 different ways that I'm going to do it. My ask of you is this: hold me accountable to that. Hold me accountable to that. Why? Because being fatigued does nobody any good. Does you no good? Does your family no good? Does those that you lead? Doesn't do them any good either. So I really hope that you take some time this week to analyze what's going on in your life, to do a little self-reflection, to look at the signs and see if you're there, because being fatigued is not a good thing. But there's ways to get over it. There's ways to work through it. There's ways to change. And those things start with you. Thanks for joining me today. I'm glad that we took this time to do this. And I really hope that you take some of these exercises and work towards being a better version of you. When it comes to overcoming fatigue, there's nothing more that each and every one of us need to be intentional about, and that is making sure that we get the rest that we need. The rest of our mind, the rest of our heart. Why? So that we can be the best version of ourselves, because when we do that, everybody around us wins. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk soon.